G'day, Bevan Addison here from ADAMA, and today I'm at Watheroo, a couple of hours, about 2.5 hours north of Perth, with Len Mitchell, who is the owner-operator, or key man would be the discussion, in Mitchell's spraying service. So Len, how long have you been playing this game?
Since '84, Bevan, so we're just headed into our 42nd season. So yeah, we've done a little bit.
How many machines are you running at any given time?
We've got 3.
Yep.
Generally, we've just got 3.
How many different machines have you run over that period of time?
The Hardies we ran in the early days, there was lots of different models. We got up to the Rogators and then they've just got bigger and better, and we've had a good run with them, so we've kept with them, and this is Rogator number 12. Yeah, so it seems to be a pretty good machine so far. So yeah.
What are you're running about 5 different operators at any given time?
They all have been trained to do the job, and yeah, they do a very good job, and we don't tend to have too many problems. Anyone who's operating for us now, I would actually say you can go and train the new guy, because I know you can do it properly.
We keep hearing from farmers, and from any spray operator, we got to get efficiencies, we got to get moving, you got to cover the ground, which you do. Yeah. But somewhere in there's the balance, and you get paid on the hectares that you cover.
Yep.
How do you achieve that balance?
You basically got to make sure you do the job right when you fill up.
Yep.
So when you get out in the paddock, you spray all that tank full out and come back and fill up again. If you're out in the paddock trying to clean a filter, it's twice as hard as what it is to do it at the tank or at the water source. So take an extra 10 minutes to fill up.
Yeah.
And if you've got a block filter out in the paddock, you're going to have a block filter more than once in that load. So you're going to keep doing that filter. You're going to take more than 10 minutes to do that, and you've already wasted your time.
It's actually not an onerous task to check the filters either between loads, and
no.
You know, before you start doing anything, make sure that you haven't got, I mean, we have people who go, such and such a mix was a problem. Why was it a problem? On my 5th tank, I got a block filter.
Yeah.
Well, did you check the filter after any of those other tanks when you know it's a heavy-handed brew? Yeah. And I think that's the balance we've got to get, and a lot of people getting far more complex mixtures.
Yes.
I mean, a 3-way mix now is a real simple mix.
Yeah. Some of these agronomists, they give you a real good mixes.
Yeah. These young blokes these days, they're all yes, but you know, like 4 or 5 is very common.
Yep, and 6 and 7's even more common, I reckon, especially when we're doing preams. Yeah.
And that speed of fill, and we're doing more and more high volumes of SCs of different sorts. I mean, they're a suspension. They're not a solution as such.
That's right.
So you got thick, gluggy material at high volume from all different active ingredients in there, trying to then mix with ECs, granules, liquid formulations. Yep. And people look at it and go, I've only got 3 or 4 things in the mix. But each one of those products has 4 or 5 different components.
Absolutely, they do. Yeah.
So you're looking at trying to mix 20 things of vastly different characteristics in a tank in a hurry.
In a hurry, and it doesn't work. It doesn't work.
No. Funny that.
No, my father said to me when I was a young fella, he said, more haste, less speed, son.
Yeah.
And he's dead right, and that's what it is. The haste is you get the job done properly.
Yep.
And that gives you your speed when you're out in the paddock.
Okay, Len, these new machines, they look pretty complex, pretty fandangled, but the basic principles for each of them are about the same, no matter what brand they are.
Yep. So you've obviously got your hopper for your granules here.
Yep.
Right, works on a Venturi system. When you're filling up, you get your water going, right, which is the first thing you need. If you've got ammo, put your ammo in, and like you say, let it do its thing, then start adding your chemical, right? And then when you put your chemicals in, make sure that you give them a chance to dissolve before you put, say, your glyphosate in on top of it all.
I think that's the key thing, is that ammonium sulfate can disappear out of here, but in theory, to get it doing what it's supposed to be doing with water hardness and everything, it really should give it probably 10 minutes. And I don't think anybody's doing that. No. And they certainly should give it 3 or 4 or 5 to get it thoroughly mixed before they start putting the next lot in. The other issue, when you start using the hoppers, people forget that a granule isn't a granule. And so they can, if you do a jar test, you see it really clearly. So you put something like Dyer on, which is relatively quick, into a jar, and you're probably looking at 45, 50 seconds for good dispersion. Start putting propyzamide or ultra or some of these other things in there, they are a lot slower.
Yes,
So people have to, granules aren't granules, so think about that. Again, they might disappear out of here, but give them plenty of time
up there,
in there.
Absolutely.
Before you start putting, particularly if you're putting a different formulation like an EC or a liquid in there on top of the granules.
Yes.
And that just saves so many headaches.
Do it nicely and make sure you've got no problems out in the paddock, because that's hard to deal with problems in the paddock.
I think the other thing,
and it interrupts your stream on your videos, and you know.
And in hot weather, you've got to get out of the air conditioned cab in the paddock, and you don't want that stuff. So the other thing, Len, lots of people say, and we say to them, slow down, and they go, yeah, but I've got to go quick with this because else the boom fills up so quick that it's full before I get my chemical dispersed. How do you manage that?
You can reduce the speed which the water goes in to match your granules and that sort of thing. How
do you handle if you're using big volume SCs?
We've actually got diaphragm pumps on all our machines. So basically that's where you suck out of micromatic fittings, or with a shuttle we'll actually suck out of the bottom, right, and it sucks it out and puts it straight into the tank, right, so we disperse it straight into the main tank.
Into a big volume of water, which is what they're supposed to do.
Which is what's supposed to happen. We can put it in through the hopper, hook on there and put it through the venturi, which it's under pressure when it goes in, so it actually does help disperse it, but our preference is to suck it out, not try and get it T-piece onto a filling water hose or whatever and let it sort of feed in on its own, under its own steam. You've got to suck it in. If you've got a big mix, don't be frightened to put another 5 litres a hectare on, get your water volume up a little bit.
Yeah.
Because you've got this tank's only so big, you're going to do the same amount of hectares, but you're going to put on so much more chemical, it's going to get saturated in the tank. So if you actually put more water on, put less chemical in the tank, that might help some of the problems they're having too.
Yeah. Do you use any pre-batches, pre-mix vats?
No, we don't, because, well, we haven't got enough staff to do that anyway, but you've got to basically have a guy sitting there all day to probably pick up half, 3/4 of an hour in total fill time.
Just doesn't add up.
Just doesn't add up. The economics aren't there. If you could run it out to the paddock, maybe it's a bit quicker, but you're still going to take you a certain amount of time to fill up anyway.
And I think one of the issues with the batching plants, they can be good for, maybe if you just want to get some granules in there or whatever, but a lot of people have 5, 7, 8,000 litres in there, and they try and jam it into a 800 litre batching plant and try and get everything in there, and then just make too much of a super concentrated brew.
It hasn't got room to dissolve.
And I think people forget granules are supposed to be something like about a 10-to-1 ratio.
Yeah.
And if you put enough granules for 8,000 litres into 800, and then you put some SCs, and then you put some ECs, and then you put everything else in there, it doesn't add up. The other part of what you do, moving between paddocks, between farms and between different people's properties, you'd be pretty diligent around your boom hygiene.
Cleanliness is next to godliness, as they say. So, look, we rinse the lines out in the paddock because we can. We've got carry water on board to do that. On the run, you can then, if you want to check your filter, clean it at night. And then the next day you start afresh, sort of thing. When we're moving farms or moving products or whatever, or changing products, we'll actually do a full clean out. So we'll, get rid of everything in the tank out in the paddock, come back and then give everything a good rinse and carry on. Obviously, if you go into a susceptible crop or something like that, you'd want to do a cleaner boom or whatever. Every now and again, it doesn't hurt just to do a cleaner boom clean out of some sort.
Yeah.
And run it through your machine, freshens it up. It probably gets rid of some of your residual that is always in there.
The key issue is that filters and things like that, they're designed to catch
whatever it is.
Like even if it's not a problem, there's potentially going to be a little bit of build up on the filters that you need to give a bit of a clean out. And depending on your booms, there can be dead ends at places and little nooks and crannies where things can get caught up. And the good thing about these new machines, that generally speaking, you've got your main filters here, they're reasonably accessible. And the ones that have got filters on the boom lines, again, they're reasonably accessible. So to spend 5 minutes having a check while you're putting some water in your tank or whatever, it's not an onerous task.
One thing the operator's got to do too is keep an eye on that pressure gauge. You're generally running at A speed, so you know if you're doing 26 k's an hour down the paddock and the pressure's running at 3 bar, well, if it goes up to 3.2, you'll probably find your filters are starting to block up. So it's time to stop and have a look. Next tank full, give them a flush out, clean them out, put them back in, and you'll find it'll go back to 3 bar. You know, operating is not just driving up and down the paddock and pressing the auto steer at the other end. You've got to actually look at what the machine's doing and make sure you're on top of it all.
So I guess it doesn't matter what machine you're using, whether it's one of these new high-tech and angled $1 million machines, or whether you're using a tow-along trusty old thing, the concepts are still the same, aren't they? Really, it's go steady with your mixing, get your mixing order right, and we've got mixing order stickers that just contact your local store and we'll get some to you, put it all over your gear so that any of your drivers understand what's going on with that. Understand that for a 3 or 4 way mix, you're actually trying to mix about 15 to 20 different things together. Don't rush your water fill, because else you think you've got to catch up with that and it all gets in a hurry. And slow is smooth, smooth is fast.
Take another 10 minutes. Take another 10 minutes when you've got a big load to put in.
Yep.